So I have to say, good morning, good evening, wherever you are on the planet there. That means, yes, TeamFest is not only here in Europe, the US people coming also in there during the day. And yeah, we have to see that. I will tell you a little bit about OneDrive is everywhere, not only in OneDrive and on your Windows system or your Mac or on your mobile phone, but we have to see that. But I've introduced myself. I'm an MVP since 7 years. I talk about, if I say, what are you doing? I'm a cloud productivity evangelist, and you see all my stuff, email, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Sing, Instagram, whatever. You can also give the browser or the search engine of your choice and call Hans Brender. You find me right away. So therefore, yes, I need still some followers. So the thing is, follow me on Twitter and not on Facebook. Facebook, I have too much people. It could be a little bit angry, but okay, whatever you want to do. So I want to talk about several things today. Means all about synchronization. People do not understand, hey, it's easy. It's like Dropbox. And I say, no, that's not like Dropbox. So therefore, I want to make a recap of all this, starting at the point. And then we talk about a little bit of storage, versioning, OneDrive files on demand, that the people understand that. And then some things like request files, sharing, and absolutely new, only 5% is rolled out during these days, add to OneDrive, and some other things we want to talk about. That's only 80 slides, one demo only, because it's so much stuff. And you know, that's an easy part, that you now have perhaps 3 different things on the notification area that you see, hey, it's new. And since you have a SharePoint on-premise, yes, you need also the second, the middle one, that although this icon shares informations from SharePoint on-premise if you have not 2019 installed. In 2019, you can hold all things only with the left icon, and that's okay. So the different ways to synchronize is starting. So we have to look, hey, that's OneDrive Personal. Or what? OneDrive Personal, OneDrive Business, are these 2 different things? And we will also talk about shared with me, document library, synchronization, B2B thing. But the first thing is Microsoft has 2 different OneDrives. No, it's not the same. OneDrive Personal is absolutely free. You can have it for absolutely nothing. You only need an account. That's all. Give you 5 gigs on storage, but it's not the same that we want to have. We want to have it OneDrive for Business. And therefore, we have to make it a little bit clear, because there is only OneDrive there standing. So see, that's the backup structure we have now. That means, yes, we have Exchange Online, where all your mails and all your chats are in there. So that's the first thing. Then you see under that SharePoint Online, where all this stuff is in there. Your different document libraries you will have. For example, let's say finance or some ideas or whatever you have, HR. And then you see here only 3, OneDrive for Business. And that's a different. It shows you OneDrive and tells you it's OneDrive, but it's OneDrive for Business. Each people in your organization, if you have an E3 or an E5 plan, has a OneDrive for Business. That means it's inside SharePoint, but you see it's different. And we will show it later on. And then you see at the bottom, OneDrive Personal. And that means, yes, that's your personal. You also can sync with this stuff. I recommend for organization to put it out. Why? Because it's not so fundamental that the organization, your IT, cannot control the stuff in there. Therefore, you should do and look for them. Then we have for Windows 10, we have Outlook, we have Word, Excel, or PowerPoint in there. That means, yes, that's all the possible that you can sync the stuff, but we'll see that later on. And then we have the browser, whatever browser you are doing, and you see, hey, we have Teams in there, and iOS and Android as the mobile factors. So starting from the ground, the first thing is on the left side, we have an Outlook. Yes, Outlook also normally is your client for Exchange Online, send you the messages, send all the stuff, also with Teams. But we want to have it a little bit more that we can also to send several attachments. No, you should not do that. Not the attachment. That means we can connect to document libraries and say, or to OneDrive for Business, or your OneDrive Personal, and say, this is a document in there, and it resides in the cloud and on your machine. We see that later on. And then means, okay, here you have the possibility to look after this client. And that's a thing that you have your Word document whenever, or PowerPoint that you have on your machine, and you never have left the environment. Means, yes, other people can also share information in there, but then we will see that how does it go. And on the other hand, if you have Outlook, you also see that we have Outlook on the web. So that's the same that we have Outlook, and we can change the same things. You do not have to have Outlook on your machine. You can do that with the browser. That's the same. It's called Outlook on the web, or Word on the web. We will see it later. So that's the same thing. We can share information, and also we can sync all this stuff from different document libraries, from different, no, only your OneDrive for Business, not the other one, because you are an administrator of that. And you can also sync your stuff from OneDrive Personal to your machine. Syncs, it's easy for that. But is it all what we can do? We sync this stuff and we can change it. Yes, can make work offline. That's a cool thing. But we have to look a little bit more what's happened here. That means we have not only one tenant. You can have more tenants. For example, I'm a consultant and I have my own tenant. I have a developer tenant. That's the second icon. I have maybe the customer also the possibility that I have to sync all this stuff, what I want to do at the third tenant, another tenant. So that means you can have up to 9 plus 1 OneDrive Personal. 9 different icons. But you have to know your machine is limited to all this stuff. For that, I will talk to you about later. So all things come together on your Windows 10 machine. That's okay. Sometimes it's a little bit horrible if you have a train here in Germany, because, hey, if I started and connect to the Wi-Fi, and then it takes a little bit because of that much icons. So therefore, on my mobile machine, I do not have so much icons. And if we have this stuff together, means we can have a little bit more. Think about during these COVID times. We are a hospital. So in the hospital, we have a labor and check the COVID things. That means, yes, we have to do it, personally bring these things to the library, and then they can say, okay, it's good or negative or whatever. But during these times, it takes a little bit, hey, we have to do another laboratory. So that could be, this laboratory is also on Office 365. And we do that immediately and say, okay, we want to have a connection, a trust with these people, then they have it also. Means that could be another tenant connected to business. But carefully, it takes 147 pages in PDF to see what's there. And therefore, it's not so easy to say, okay, you can do that very easily. The good thing is that they can connect to my Windows 10 machine. No, during the cloud, all these stuff come together, but I have the possibility to see this stuff during the cloud. And these people of B2B tenants do not have to have another environment or password or something. There is a trust. And that means they can work immediately with that. That's business to business thing. So that means, yes, we can have all these things together, not only the config stuff, but also in other scenarios you have to know. So then we have a little bit with Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Yes, these can connect it directly to a document library or to your OneDrive for Business or to your OneDrive Personal, and also to Windows 10, that we have all these stuff with us. Hey, how big is your hard disk? I only have 256 gigs, but I have some petabytes with me, and I show you later on how does it go. So now we see with your OneDrive for Business that connected to Windows 10. And we can also have a connection to other people with OneDrive for Business. And that's possible. Shared with me, we can have that. But Microsoft said it's a little bit complicated. Yes, it is. Not only easy, you cannot share a file that you can sync to your machine from other people. No, you have to have this file in a folder. Then you can sync the folder. And then you can sync all the other files in there. Means from another user, external or internal, in your environment, we can sync on my machine. That's close possible. Then that's absolutely new. Later on, some new stuff about that. And then means, okay, we also have the possibility to use all this stuff in iOS. You have the full functionality with the document library, your OneDrive for Business, shared with me people and all stuff there. It's absolutely, you can do that. Not only with iOS, you also can say it, we can do it in Android. So that's the thing we can do. Now, the last thing, and that's the best one, we also have the possibility with Teams. So sometimes the people say, okay, now we have run and roll out Teams. We do not need SharePoint any longer. Wrong. The SharePoint is behind the scenes. The document libraries is behind the scene. But the thing is, it's implemented as a client. You have this stuff inside and you can work with them. And we have, if you are in the formally session here with Karafilov, they'll say, hey, you can do that also and record the stuff and all these stuff from Teams recordings in the future we will have in OneDrive for Business or in the document libraries. Perfect. That's the implementation. I do not have to left outside of Teams. I have the files, but sometimes I have to do a little bit more, and therefore we have to look for that. Means, okay, SharePoint. A little bit of SharePoint, we have to know about the libraries. There are some document libraries. We have SharePoint side. We have document libraries for different people, OneDrive for Business, document libraries for Teams, and so on. And you have to know that's normal that we have to expand our local storage. That means normally the storage in a SharePoint Online is 1 terabyte plus 10 gigabytes for each user. You can connect to that. All sites, all document libraries. And for your OneDrive for Business for each user, you have to look 1 terabyte up to 5 terabyte. So we have to look about that. Sometimes the people or admins say to me, hey, we want to have to reduce it. And sometimes people have to, we want to expand it. You can do that. Not only you can do it for all people. Think about the organization, 50,000 users. And you as an admin can say, normally you have 1 terabyte. Now I go in the admin center, say I mount this, means 5 terabyte for each user in OneDrive for Business. 5 terabyte multiplied by 50,000 users, you can see that's form so much storage. And people has to know in the admin center, it takes a while that each people has this storage aligned. If you go in, you will get the storage. Other people do not in OneDrive for Business, they won't have the old storage. So there is a possibility. Thinking about young people to have to add storage after storage. That's more than 1 petabyte about that. So it's like Yogblocks, but it's a little bit more. So we have to look about the principle about SharePoint. This is a SharePoint house. It's my philosophy about that. You as an administrator can go up and down also, and you have some rooms. That's your possibility in your rooms. That's the SharePoint document library. You have a lot more in SharePoint, but that's we want to talk about here in this session. And you see, up in the hill, no, up in the city. You see, that's the OneDrive for Business for each people. If you have 50,000, you have no control because you only have to let OneDrive for Business, you as a user are your own administrator inside of that. But sometimes you have to look, hey, there's a document library for marketing. It has an owner and you have some members in there. And that's also for finance and ideas. And sometimes the people has to say, okay, we have now our old file servers and we want to move that. And they take it as they are and move all in one library. Do not do that. Your sync client may do only sync out of this big library, big room of this, and sync all this stuff. And the end of that are 300,000 documents. Not how big are the documents, 300,000 documents. And that means you should, before you migrate, and think about what is going in which library, because we do not need all of this stuff. And I have some customers that have these problems about that. Means, again, we have 10 gigabytes and now we have 1 terabyte. And you see about this possibility that I understand, I talk about version history. Version history, see that you see on that's the largest one. That means this red one, and the former one are formally versions. Normally, you have all versions, about 500 different versions. I have some files with 500 versions. So each day I have to measure my bread brusher. And that means, yes, one line in an Excel sheet, not only the bread brushers, more and more data are in there, but it's only a new version for this line. You have it in there, and you do not have to say, okay, for a PowerPoint we want to have in your file server, it's draft 1, draft 2, finalized. And the finalizing thing, no, we can have it, and the versions, we can access the versions and different stuff. Means, where do we know these versions? That means we can have it via SharePoint, via web browser. That was this one. You have the second one. You have in your Windows Explorer, if you select one and you see version history, you do not have to go out and so on. And in your client, in your OneDrive client, in the notification area, if you press the button and then you see, hey, here are some data, and you can also the possibility not only open, we can also see the version history. In Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you have the same. You see this stuff here, and then you can say, okay, I need the version history if you have Office 365, and the newest one, you have that. That could also be tricky for that people, they have 2016 or 2019 of Office inside an organization, and that could be a lot of trouble because they don't have this information. You need the newest one. So that means from this one, how can we have these data all on my laptop? So I have also some talks, the cloud in my handbag, and this goes in the same direction. You need at least 1709 of Windows 10. That's an old thing that was in 2017 in September. And then you can have and play a little bit about storage sense. But the thing is, although that you see, before you have files on demand, we sync several stuff and we sync the complete files, and then we go in the classic view and it goes up. Now with files on demand, and I recommend, normally it's on, you should also have a group policy and says you as a user should not change that, because then you have no issues with that. Means for them, we can have that, and that's also possible to do that with Mac OS. So Microsoft has to change a little bit things. Now you see the form icons we have inside if you're looking for that. And we have, Microsoft has changed the fat allocation table, or NTFS, and has 2 new attributes, pinned, offline, and unpinned. You can forget it. That's only that we can trick about that with a simple command line. So you see, cloud only means this file, we only have a name in it, and you see it in a few seconds. And the rest of the file, the content, the complete file is in the cloud. So that's the thing. Local available means it's local on your machine. On this machine, you will open it. You click on the cloud only file. It comes down. It will be downloaded and then opened with the program, the app, and then it's local available. But sometimes with several group policies, we can clean up the system. You can clean it up yourself, right on the mouse, click on the file and say free up space. But inside you can say, I do not want to do that. Means I want to have it offline every time. Microsoft, or not Microsoft, the people, the administration should not change anything on this file. Local on my machine, I change it to always available. And nothing of the group policies will run against it. Then you see the forced syncing. That is all that. It takes a little bit, how big the file is there. And you will see that's new one in the future, in the near future, a fifth one that is not synced. So we will have a new group policy that will be established that you can say, okay, we will not sync these part of file. So there is a report in there. You can say, okay, all this stuff will come, but only the new one. And let's say, okay, I want to have the old PST files removed. That means a new PST files will never go synced into the cloud. So that will come, and therefore we have a fifth symbol inside the Explorer. So again, one-time files on demand means you have a file name, you have a type, you have a picture, a small picture inside the fat allocation table, some attributes we mentioned before, and a pointer to the content on your hard disk. And you see that's for the local available and always available. The content, that simplifies this stuff. Yeah? But anyway, if I say I want to free up space, this will happen. The point to the content will not anymore gives up free space on your storage, and you see it's only in the cloud. It will nothing delete, it's still there in the cloud. You can have it again. That's the thing. And you see all these stuff in the status with these symbols we have. Here are the three. Syncing is the fourth, and then the last one will come in the near future. So that's the thing we want to have. In the next 20 minutes, I want to talk a little bit more about other things. And the thing is, sometimes you want to have, and that's also part of the Think engine, request files. So that means that there are three parts: an invitation and receive a notification. Means I want to give out and make a simple file. And then I say, okay, not a file, a folder, sorry. A folder, and then I say, okay, I want to share this information about the folder with request for files, with some stuff in there, and say, okay, please give me all the new stuff you have inside for this or this scenario and put it in. They will not get access, but you, if you want to have it with external, you need external, although that you can share this. Otherwise, it will not work. So we see that here, sent the file request, he put all this stuff in and he sent that. And on the other side, this file request was out for the vendor accreditation. We will see that, select the files, that's also in there if the people comes in. So then we can see all the stuff inside, but the people from outside only can upload documents or pictures, have a name in there that we can identify this part, where is it coming from, and then it's all in these folder in there. Request files for that. Works only in OneDrive for Business. You must be able to share to external users. That means here you have to do that. Oh, the left side is not possible because I have no chance for that. I need an external user, this anonymous slide. So that is the right one here, and then it will work. But we have other control mechanism to say to administrators often say, okay, we do not want it, put it out. And I say, hey, there are other mechanisms, but it's not a part of this demo today. So times for remain for access are the same for all external access. If external access, administrators can say, okay, we want to reduce the time for this link. That's easy. Normally you have in the past 90 days, but now you can have it up to 720 days, means 2 years, and that 730, sorry. And that means 2 years is the maximum you can have open an external link. Okay, but if I say I will do it only for 90 days, then it means, okay, after 90 days, and if I have me as a normal user, I can only reduce the time. I know my partners and I will, okay, they need only 30 days, go into 30 days, and that means I can reduce it. And after 30 days, the link is being closed. So you have these sharing information not only here from a website, you can have it also in other things, mean, yes, only for the website in different parts with different sharing links. And that means it could be complicated in this stuff. And that means, yes, you can have it also on your machine out of the Windows Explorer, the File Explorer. You can have it also there and share the information. Or we can share it from a Macintosh, the same user behavior. It's always the same with the links. And although you can see the link settings will come, and now you see, oh, what that will come in the near future, that you also have the possibilities, and I will show you later on completely of these inside Teams. Means when we put all things together, you can have it although from different programs, from OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Teams, Outlook, and SharePoint. And not only on these, on Windows, on the web, on the desktop, on mobile, the same sharing things on all these clients. And here is it. If you see here in a Mark project team, Mark 8 project team, you have it in it. It's a little bit different because we have here only Mark 8 project team. So we can have it different because these files we have in there is only for the teams in there with external people and so on. But you can say, okay, only the project team will receive that. This part, the third, only with this project team is not available outside from Teams. So therefore, we can have it. And now, absolutely new. Microsoft is talking about since a long time. It's not so easy because we have to look add to OneDrive, add a shortcut to OneDrive, add shortcut to my files. So several people, it's always the same, means a shortcut to my OneDrive for Business. And sometimes the people say, okay, in libraries, we all can work together. In OneDrive, you can do it different. But sometimes the people say, yes, that is a silo and we should not have this silo anymore. And you can not only add shortcut, you also have the possibility to remove shortcut from files. So listen, this is user A. User A has different folders in his OneDrive for Business. If I say OneDrive, you see it on the screen. Yes, that's all the same, but it means OneDrive for Business. And user A share a folder A2 from his OneDrive to any person inside his company. You cannot share it outside, doesn't work. So that's the same thing. Here we see now on the right side, OneDrive user B with a folder A2. He has implemented this. You see that under his OneDrive, you see that he received a notification via email. That's not an issue, but he sees although on the shared with me. So in shared with me or shared by you, sometimes it's different on the things. Microsoft is doing a lot of techniques. What's the best thing? Shared with me means user A has shared with user B some information. It's shared with me if I'm a user B. So then I can say, okay, I want to have, and click on the folder. You can have only a folder. That's the same thing I have to mention before. User B, add a shortcut to my files. Okay. And then we have a new symbol in OneDrive, my files on the web. We see the folder and files all on the web. And we see the folders and files also synced on your Windows File Explorer. But not only on one machine, all your machine you have with the same user. User B has 5 machines, and it has also immediately synced the folder on his OneDrive for Business on all machines. That's new. But we have to see, hey, it's internal. And the user B may rename this folder. because he doesn't understand the concept. Okay, he wants to have a new name. He can change that. It will only change on his web in the Windows File Explorer, but only for him. User B has a new name for the folder, A2, but user A still remains A2. That's a different one. So we have to look fine. User B can also remove the shortcut at any time. So you have to go in your Windows File Explorer or on the web in your OneDrive for Business and have to say, okay, select it. And then you see you can remove this. But again, not only on this machine. I have prepared, user B has 5 machines. It will reduce on all 5 machines. The order is not on there. If you say remove, it will clean up. Also, if you are offline and come on next time, it will immediately clean up. The files are in there are also be removed. And that gives me some speculation. What can you do? That's cool. It's not a security feature. It's only there reduce some issues, and therefore it's in there. You don't see the files anymore. In the old technique, you have to do it manually. Not only a machine, on the second machine, on the third machine, whatever, or only on the third machine. And if you remove this stuff, you have to go inside and have to say, okay, I want to have it from my OneDrive exe and say, okay, this file, I want to remove it. Then the remove will be done, but you have to delete all the files also in there. And that's not so easy to understand why it's different. Therefore, Microsoft makes it new. So next one, we have something. I talk about document library. We have a document library for user A. User A is although a member of the document libraries we have, but user B is not there. Means I, as user A, share folder D3 to user B. And that's the same. That's the same thing what we have here inside user B, see the folder D3 in the OneDrive shared with me. And then he says, okay, I add a shortcut to my files, done on all his machines. Yes, he will have this stuff, and he can also remove this stuff and all the same thing. So we have to know user A is a member of document library C. He takes a folder, share the folder with user B, only internal. Microsoft has stopped to discuss on this functionality for external user. I talked with them. That could be very critical because you have to know about the, yes. Therefore, it's no timeline. There's nothing to say about external users. All the shortcut, add a shortcut to my files is only available for internal users of our thing. So we see that, we take that, we add a shortcut to my files. It takes a second, done. And when we go to my files, you see all this stuff. It's here. K. Larson, you see a new icon on the left side. And that's just the thing that we can do that. So that's the thing we want to show later on. But what I want to just all this stuff together. We have some minutes. It's OK. You see it here. Although with a file explorer on the left side, it's in dark mode. Yes, I know that. But I like dark mode now. And you see there's a different icon here. And that means, yes, this icon and this icon here, these folders coming from outside. But Microsoft is changing a little bit because they say, OK, here is a name of the user in there, but they change it back. Now you don't see anything. And I have to say, hey, that could be critical because you do not know that. And although you can also say, if I have it here, that's another thing, and say, OK, I want to remove the shortcut. I have to say. But sometimes you have to say, hey, if I have something in there and we've shared with me the old technology, and you share it again, you got an error. And this error says, OK, it's synced in this stuff. But Microsoft is discussing that. If you want to do it right now, if you do want a new one, With the old technology, you will get an error because Microsoft has disabled temporarily this functionality. And the error says, okay, contact Microsoft. Perfect. Now you know that. And that means only for people in your organization, no external, any folder from OneDrive, any folder from any SharePoint document library you are a member of. You cannot share information for a document library where you're not member of, have no access from there. And you may get an error if your sync data through shared with me will come. And also something people have to know, if you want to move a library from whatever, so that means from you working with other person in your OneDrive for Business, have some documents in there, and then you say, okay, now it's time to have all these stuff in a library of a document library, for example. Then you can do that move. You can do the move in the old days with the web browser. You can do it also in the Windows Explorer. But I found the bug since January 2018 because between two different libraries, it's not possible. It takes only the last version. Therefore, now you will see it during these days, September, October. Yes, we have September, but I haven't seen that, not on all tenants. And move and keep the sharing functionality. So that's a process now they have on the server, means on the web server. Then you can have it, and you do not have to reconnect the people in there. And also, it's very interesting. If you have PowerPoint slides and you want to say, okay, I want to have a comment from the other people or so, you can get a link. Means inside your PowerPoint, you say not only new slide or duplicate a slide, you also can say, I want to have a link to this slide. And that is although outside now, available now on PowerPoint on the web and Windows and Mac. Okay, I have another one. So that means although if you have open and there is a possibility to see if it's a Word, then you can see open in year view mode only. If you say, okay, I want to have that, the other person you share the information can only make comments on your Word document. And that means, yes, he's seeing the document, but he cannot change the text. He only can make comments and make a review of all this stuff. And last not least, yes, sometimes people know that, but if you do and say, okay, I want to change it with anyone, but I don't want to have that the people may edit, and I do not want to have plug download. So the people only can see the PowerPoint on your web in the browser. No possibility. So the thing is, now editing, if it's out, then you have the possibility to switch on block download. So my slide deck, you will see that in a few minutes, will see that you have all this stuff in there, and means block download is available, but my slide deck only says allow not editing, because if you have it allow editing and all the people want to have it because you got only a link, you can have a download for your own, that's not a problem, but you should not change the PowerPoint I have prepared for you. So therefore, you can also have that, and block download is not, it's available, you can have it. But that's the thing with the block download. So before I match up with the live demo, for Kate, 1 minute, you see all the stuff, read your plugs from Microsoft. It's very interesting, and the MS Dash community, you see that they have also monthly, each time once a month, a sync up podcast with the new things. And I write 2 blog posts for each notice. I have to communicate with other people. I have 850 in there, and half of them are in German, half of them are in English. And although the pictures, it's a lot of stuff. You see all these things although in German and in English. I have to change all these stuff, make another picture. It's a lot of work. And you see although in the roadmap the stuff. Sometimes the people, we are inside teams, and it takes only some weeks. I got with 2 other MVPs from Austria, That's an AI MVP and a developer MVP, and they make a process with a bot. This bot called Mr. OneDrive. So all my knowledge about OneDrive from a user perspective will be in there, and you can have it. It's run in the Teams. So if you are an administrator, you do not have to know a lot of the people. You can install the bot for the people, and the users can also ask Mr. OneDrive's bot about all the questions. It's a lot of work. Now we have 2 languages. We will have it a little bit more, up to 50 languages, but it's not so easy, the language stuff. And that means although I have to quick up a little bit, recommendations, save and restore. So that's although you have to read that. That is a thing for big companies. If you have your machine crashed and you have, okay, a new machine, all can be automatically, but you have to fill out the simples, what you do not have with crew policies, your manual stuff, and you see what's happened today. It takes me 1 hour, I have this issue. And therefore, I say to Microsoft, hey, we want to save and restore our current machine. And that means, hey, in OneDrive for Business, that's an XML file and it's an easy, and you can also have it. But therefore, you should vote here. So that was it. Here is the link for the slides if you want to be early. It's bit.ly handbag 071020, and you can make some pictures. And I have to say, okay, are there any questions? I have to switch off. Where is my room?
Thanks, Hans. That was a really great session. As ever, passionate, enthusiastic, energetic. Lots of compliments in the chat, which I'm sure you can take a look at yourself.
Yeah, I see it,
very
yes.
good.